What's up guys, my name's Brandon and iOS 16 will be here before we know it. And as we do every year, I wanted to discuss what features and changes I would like to see added or changed in 2022. So iOS 15 was fine and added, some cool new features and changes, especially these smaller enhancements. But this next version needs to really wow us, and I think it actually might happen. So let's go ahead and discuss my iOS 16 wish list. So the first thing is a home screen redesign, and I know this is on every single person's wish list every single year, but I needed to say it first and get it out of the way. So there are multiple different facets to this. I don't just mean the icons and the widgets, I don't mean that. I mean the home screen, everything we see here, including the status bar. So I think up top, we should have a battery percentage like we had back in the old days. There's plenty of room up there, especially on the Max phones. Even if Apple wanted to make it, exclusive for the Max phones, the bigger phones, we should have the option to put the battery percentage up in the status bar. And then I also think that we should be able to make these status bar icons toggleable, if that's a word. We should be able to toggle on and off the icons like we can in the control center. So maybe if we didn't want, for example, we didn't want our focus mode showing up right there in the left, we should be able to turn that off if we don't want it to be on. And then you see these little dots right here because I don't use this phone, as a main phone. I don't have cell service on it. I would like to be able to hide those dots right there. I should be able to do that. So I think that Apple can make a lot of tweaks to the status bar, make it more customizable and more like we had it back in the old days, or of course with jailbreak tweaks, you could do a lot of those things I mentioned right there. Now, of course, we do also want to see more interactive widgets. So for example, the Tesla widget, you're able to, unlock the car and do multiple different things straight from the widget, but most of the built-in ones you're not able to do anything. It just shows you the information and that's it. But I would like to see more interactive widgets. Of course, that's expected. We expected that with iOS 15, but maybe we will see that with iOS 16. And then also, I would like to be able to move apps wherever we want. So of course, this could make for a pretty messy home screen, but some people like to show things in their wallpaper. Like if I had a wallpaper with like a car down here and I didn't want it to be covered up with icons, I should be able to move my icons so that you can see that car right there and move the icons around to wherever I want them to be, not just locked in a grid right here. So that's one thing that also used to be a jailbreak tweak, and I think that Apple should bring that to native iOS. Now I would also like to see a redesigned lock screen. So the lock screen has stayed the same for quite a while now. There have been minor tweaks to it, but we really haven't had a change in a few years to the lock screen here. So I would like to see, of course, number one, an always on display. This is possible with the iPhone 13 Pro's variable refresh rate, so we can have a 1 Hertz always on display. It's possible, and I would like to see Apple implement that because it will not drain battery since we can go all the way down to 1 Hertz. So I would like to see an always on display with iOS 16. Also, I would like to see the toggles down here be changed from the flashlight and camera to something else. I think the camera one is probably the most useless thing on the lock screen. I mean, you can press that to get the camera app, or you can just slide over to get to the camera application. Why should there be two different ways to get to the camera? It's never made sense to me. So we should be able to toggle these out and have whatever application we want there. So maybe if I tap this and it takes me to Instagram, and if I tap this one, it takes me to Safari, something like that. We should be able to change what those toggles on the lock screen do. And then I do also think that we should have more UI elements like we have with the iOS 15.2 notification summary. So it just looks so much more full and so much more modern. I think we need more UI elements like that in the notification center. I also think that we could benefit from some changes to the control center. So first off, let me just say that I like the control center the way it is. Yes, I think it's a little bit clogged up. There's a lot going on here, especially when you add your HomeKit devices right here. But I think we could do with an option to remove certain sections. So like for example, if I didn't want maybe this section right here, all three of these, if I didn't want them at all, I should be able to go ahead and configure that just like I can for the control center toggles. Like if I go into my settings here, and then go to Control Center, maybe I should have something right here that says Show Home Controls. I could hide that. Why can't I hide these elements right here? You should be able to hide any of these elements in the Control Center. I think that would be cool to see in iOS 16. I also think that we need the option to be able to permanently turn off Wi-Fi, not just until tomorrow, and same with Bluetooth, of course. We should have the option to permanently turn those off, not until just the next day. I would also love to see new ringtones and notification sounds. So this is not something like wallpapers where we get a new ringtone or text tone every single year, although I wish we did. I think that a lot of people, myself included, I keep my phone on silent, so I don't really care about this, but I've seen so many of you guys want new ringtones and text tones, and every once in a while it might be nice to have your ringer on and hear whatever your ringtone is. So I think we should get new ringtones and text tones with iOS 16. I'm on board with that. Now, speaking of sounds, when we go into the music application, if you're in a playlist and you're playing songs, you have it on shuffle, you're going through all your songs in there, you should be able to remove a song from the playlist from the now playing screen right here. So when I tap on these three dots and I'm playing music from a playlist, there should be an option here that says remove from playlist, but there's not. You have to see it on this section right here. So I'm in a playlist right now. You have to go here and then remove from playlist. But, there's a lot of songs. I have a ton of songs in this playlist. What do I have? 592 songs. I would like to be able to just go through them all. And then once I get to one that I don't like anymore or I'm tired of, I can go ahead and remove it from the playlist straight from the now playing screen. And then speaking of music, we should also be able to set Spotify, Pandora, or any other music service as the default music player. Now, I'm aware that you can do this via Siri, but it's still very, very wonky. We should have something inside of settings that allows us to change the default application for music. And really, I think that we should be able to set default applications for anything, including messages, phone, FaceTime, everything. We should be able to have the option to set that. Now, as I was looking at my notification center, I came across something else I think should be changed with iOS 16, and that is the option to disable shortcuts notifications. So every single time my shortcut runs in the morning, I get this notification telling me that my automation ran, but I don't need that. I mean, it's a shortcut, it runs every day. I don't need to get that notification every day, but as you guys know, you cannot disable shortcuts notifications. Now, there is a workaround, there is a way to do it, but it's not native, it's not meant to be done. So Apple needs to give us the option to be able to disable shortcuts notifications. Now, another thing I would like to see added in iOS 15 is offline maps and offline navigation. Now, this is something, it would take a lot of data, it would put a lot of data on device, but I think this is necessary. We should at least have the option to do this. So with iOS 15, Apple made Siri able to be accessed offline. We should be able to at least access and see the map when we are in airplane mode or offline. I think that would be beneficial in multiple different scenarios. Now, Messages is another application I think we could see a lot of improvements to with iOS 16. And the first thing, something that I find myself frustrated with all the time, is search. So Messages, searching within Messages is a mess. You cannot use quotation marks. It's very hard to search for specific things that you want to, in my experience. And I wish we could search individual threads. So like you can see this thread right here, I should be able to search for something in this thread specifically and not have to search through every single message on my phone. So maybe if you tap right here, maybe there's something in here to search, or maybe you just simply swipe down like this or tap right here, you should be able to have a little search bar where you can search within that thread specifically. I would find that very useful. I also wish that we could lock individual threads and messages. Like for example, if I swipe over, it'd be cool if we had a little toggle there to lock one thread and one thread only with a passcode or Face ID. I think that would be really cool. And we should also be able to do that with applications. So this is another one that has been long awaited. A lot of people have talked about wanting this for iOS for many years now. This exists in the jailbreak world, but it would be cool if Apple brought over the ability to lock applications with a passcode or Face ID. I think it would also be cool if you had to put in your passcode or Face ID to shut down the phone, because of course, if somebody steals your phone, they're probably going to turn it off, and they can't turn it off if they don't have your Face ID or passcode. Now, one really cool thing that Android just got that I hope Apple brings to iOS 16 is auto rotate using the front camera instead of the accelerometer. So the iPhone uses the accelerometer to change the orientation right here. So for instance, if I turn it off and just turn the phone this way, you can see it changes to landscape mode. But if you use the front camera and detect your face, it will not turn to that mode unless your head is facing that way. So let me give you an example. If you go into bed at night, for example, I lay on my side in bed on my phone, and if I turn my phone this way, when I have, the orientation off, if I turn my phone this way, but my head is facing this way, it turns the screen and it's really annoying. So I always have to have the lock on, so when I lay down, my phone doesn't change the orientation. But if we used the front camera instead of the accelerometer, that orientation would not change because it would detect that my face is, this is the best orientation for the way my face is facing. So that's something I hope that made sense, by the way. I was kind of confusing the way I worded it there, but it's hard to explain without actually showing you. But I hope Apple brings that to iOS 16 using the front-facing camera instead of the accelerometer to change the orientation. Now, something else that absolutely needs changed in iOS 16 is inside of our settings, battery health, the maximum capacity right here. So this is something, this 100% that you see right there, if somebody doesn't see that, they're going to panic. And I don't mean you specifically, but I've had so many people message me over the years saying that their maximum capacity dropped to 98%, even though they just had their phone for 3 months, and they freak out and try to return it to Apple because they think it's defective. So this just causes anxiety, it causes confusion. You know, you can put as many sentences here as you want, but people are not going to read that. They're going to look at that percentage right there, and if it's not what they expect, they're going to freak out and they're going to think something is wrong with their phone or the way they use it. So I think this should be changed to just show either it's good, the battery is good, or the battery needs replaced. There should just be those two things right there, not a percentage. Another feature that you guys always mention to me that you wish was on iOS is split screen multitasking. So we got drag and drop in iOS 15. We can drag and drop throughout iOS, which is a big step forward, but we don't have split screen multitasking. Even on the big 6.7-inch iPhone 13 Pro Max, we don't have the ability to split screen multitask. You know, we cannot turn our phone into landscape right here and have two different applications, one on each side, but we should be able to. I mean, this is a 6.7-inch display. We're able to drag and drop. We have the power. I don't see why we should not be able to multitask and have two different applications open at the same time, interacting with both at the same time. So hopefully iOS 16 solves that and we get it. Even if it's only just for the bigger phones, that's fine. And then for iPadOS 16, there are a few things that I just wanted to briefly mention, but I think that we should have multi-user support like you can on a MacBook. I also think that we should have native external monitor support with no black bars. So we have a Thunderbolt port now on the new iPad Pro. We should be able to have native external monitor support. I don't really know why Apple skipped out on that part. And then also, I think that we should see Pro applications, like a Final Cut Pro for iPad, not just a ported over macOS version. I don't think it's going to be just a port from that version, but a specific version made for the iPad Pro. I think that we should have Pro applications on such a, high-powered, expensive machine. It really makes no sense not to take full advantage of that. And hopefully we see something similar to that, maybe not Final Cut, but maybe something else, a Pro application with iOS 16. Now, I'm sure that there are many more much needed changes that I'm forgetting to mention in this video, but leave a comment down below with what you want to see in iOS and iPadOS 16. So you guys always have really good suggestions, and I always look to your guys' comments as well to spawn ideas for myself and what I think Apple should include in their next version. So let me know down there in those comments below. And if you guys enjoyed this video and if you agree with any of the points that I made throughout this video, I would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. And of course, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my iOS 16 coverage coming pretty soon, a lot sooner than we think. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.